All right, here we go. Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Football Now. You, my friends, are in the playoffs. Congratulations. This is big doings. It has been an extremely difficult season for most of the people in the fantasy football world. So if you've made the playoffs, congratulations to you. I'm Brady Tinker at DFW Sports Beat, alongside my good friend Jeff Tito Thitoff at Fit Happens, one of the all-time great Twitter handles. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm in the mood. I like the holidays. I donned I got a little Tyreek Hill red shirt on underneath here, but people are giving me trouble since he doesn't play for the Chiefs anymore. So it's under here. It's next to my heart. He got me a Super Bowl.
There you go.
Right.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. You know?
Right.
All right, here we go. Let's get them ready. Item number 1, winners this week. I wrote down these things, sir. The Packers still alive in the NFC. He looks like he's finally getting comfortable with Dubs, and obviously Christian Watson looks like he's finally going to be the star since he got past the yips. So the Packers are still involved. Therefore, I am good with them being winners, and am saying, listen, if you get down to it this week, this is a hard week. There's about 8 unders this week when you look at the matchups. So if everyone's sitting around saying, well, I need 20 out of this guy and 30 out of this guy, it may be hard to come by. So get your 9 or your 10 where you can. The Packers may be that team.
They could very well be, yes. And I know that Rodgers made the joke about Christian Watson saying, hey, if you run the right routes, you get touchdowns, that's fine. But still, yes, the Packers are playing to win. They are absolutely still in this. It's a bit of a long shot, but they can get there if they win out, no doubt about it. And so, yes, the Packers offense is still something that can be a thing. You know, A.J. Dillon left because of a potential concussion, so Aaron Jones might get an even heavier workload going forward. But, yes, the Packers, and they are still very much in this thing.
Agreed. The Saints alive in the NFC South, I can't tell. Are they? There was an Alvin Kamara sighting with you. If you've had Kamara all year, you're over all of that, right? There's a Kamara sighting kind of out of nowhere, and they have a tough matchup this week. But I wrote them down as winners.
Yeah, they are winners, that's for sure. I don't know who the quarterback will be. It could be Archie Manning. Who knows who'll be the quarterback for the Saints?
That would be fun.
Who's going to perform?
Yeah, that would be fun.
God, love to see Archie Manning out there.
I wrote
Bobby Hebert, right, with the silent H.
Loved him too. Yeah. I wrote the Jaguars down as winners. Obviously, they took a confused Cowboys team and continued their momentum. The Cowboys played some really good football, some really odd football. I just got through doing off of the helmets, and I'm like, I don't really know what to tell you people. The truth is there was some brilliant football and some brilliant coaching, and yet the defense that we thought was good all year, in 72 dropbacks now in the last 2 weeks against Houston and Jacksonville, they have 1 sack. So they have troubles in the secondary. You know, I don't know what to tell people right now.
I find the Cowboys offense, though. Like, I think the Cowboys offense is always going to score points. The defense, yes, inconsistent. They've been great this year, but inconsistent right now. The Jags, certainly, look, they're a game out. The Jags could win the AFC South because we're not sure about what the hell Tennessee is. The Jags, they closed the season against Tennessee. They've got a real legitimate shot here. How about the job Doug Peterson's done there based on where they were a year ago in the Urban Meyer debacle to where they're at now is amazing. And it's starting to cement Doug Peterson as a really damn good coach.
Agreed. And, you know, they started kind of good and then hit a real tough patch. And like, well, maybe that was expected. But this bounce back has been very impressive. It really has, where they look like they believe. You know, Tito, I don't know if you watched that game, but there was a point in that game right before halftime where it's 21-7 Cowboys, I think. Sure. And 21-3. I can't remember what, but whatever it was, Cowboys had the ball. Yeah, Cowboys had the ball with 1 minute and 20 seconds left at roughly their own 40-yard line, and it goes to 3rd and 1. And Doug Peterson calls timeout, and I thought, interesting, helping the Cowboys with the timeout. If the Cowboys convert, they're very likely going to get points here. And Doug Peterson was saying, we're going to stop you. We want the ball back.
I believe my defense.
You remember that? And I was like, wow, that's ballsy. And they stopped him. They stoned him. They got the ball back. Now, they ran a couple, 2 or 3 good plays. They didn't get points. But at that moment, I was like, the Jaguars aren't done. They're thinking they're going to make adjustments at halftime. And that's what I thought. This isn't done. And it clearly wasn't.
Yep. The Jaguars have done an incredible job this year. Trevor Lawrence made a huge jump this year, I think.
Yeah,
and,
I agree.
Certainly had the the ability with the receivers they've got. My God, think about next year. Next year, when they've got Calvin Ridley potentially on that team, they could be really dangerous next year. Yep.
Very fun to watch. Another fun to watch team, the Lions, from 1-6 to 7-7. And most likely a playoff team. It's a great story. And offensively, they are fantasy relevant everywhere. As a matter of fact, I want to have the discussion with you about Jamison Williams, who caught no balls last week, won the week before for 41 yards and a touchdown, and none the week before. Yet something in me says that they're going to make some effort. If we're going to be a playoff team and make the playoffs, wouldn't it be nice to have that weapon rolling with us as well?
They need a big play receiver. They need somebody out there who can do that, and he is the guy. He might be a guy who gets 2 catches, but a span.
No doubt. Item number 2, losers. The Panthers had a chance to stay in the race and couldn't run the ball, which was kind of odd, and they've struggled to run the ball lately, and the Cardinals are a mess. Those are the only 2 teams I wrote down under the loser bracket. Am I wrong, or anybody else you want to add?
No, the Carolina thing is befuddling to me, the fact they couldn't run the ball, because I really thought they had an opportunity there, and I thought they'd be able to do it. The Cardinals are a complete mess right now, and I don't think Cliff Kingsbury is the coach in week 1 next year. They've got the Steve Keim left because of a health-related issues, what they said, but all the stuff, there was like the incident with the front office staff in the bar down in Mexico City. There's so much stuff going on with this team. And it seems like Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury are not on the same page anymore. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but it feels like the Cardinals, though, are looking at a serious, like a massive reset with the organization.
Agreed. I said last week, I think maybe I said it to you, let's trade them both. You probably get something pretty decent for that quarterback and start over. They won't. But it occurs to me, the frustration level has to be high.
They're married to Kyler Murray, it feels like, and Kingsbury could be the one who's the fall guy. But I think that Kyler Murray's there long term, and they'll probably go to Murray and say, "What kind of coach do you want? Who do you want? And let's go see if we can get him."
Yep. Item number 3, surprises. The Patriots lose on one of the most mindless, stupid plays you'll ever see. And actually coming off of the opposite, right? How the Jets could have punted to that kid a week or 2 earlier and let the Patriots win a 3-3 game was mindless. But those things happen for the Patriots, not to them. And then I couldn't even, I was like, what am I watching? This game's tied. You're not behind. It was unbelievable.
It's bizarre. When you're watching it, and he's going against one of his former, obviously, McDaniels, former OC, like a Belichick disciple. I don't think that McDaniels out-coached Belichick. The Raiders out-executed him, certainly, for sure, with that play, because the Patriots are back there. Yes, you're right. It should have been like, take a knee, sit down, we'll go to OT, we'll take our chances. That was bizarre, the way that whole play unfolded. It looked like the Patriots weren't ready for it, and the Raiders were, which is hard to think that another team that would have an edge over Belichick in that moment.
The other thing I wrote about this game as a surprise was I've been touting Mac Jones a little bit as the guy who I think is right for this coach, and he goes 13 for 31 for 112 yards against the Raiders. I didn't watch that much of it, so I don't know that it all falls on him, but I was surprised.
Brady, it's hard for a quarterback now to complete less than 50% of his passes. It's really hard with the way that the offense is set up, the NFL, the way they encourage that, the way they protect quarterbacks, and the way they give the receivers free reign. If you're look, you and I both know when we were younger, if you completed 50% of your passes, you were a damn good quarterback. Now it's 60. If you complete less than 50, that's a really bad game, Brady.
Right. Montana at 62% for his career, whatever, was one hell of an accurate quarterback in the day. Now it's close to 70% if you're really one hell of an accurate quarterback. The ads, this is what everybody wants to know. Here are the ads. I'll throw them out. You knock them down. Russell Gage got 12 targets last week. And whatever's going to happen in Tampa, it probably is going to lead to them winning that division and going to Dallas to play a playoff game. They're better if Russell Gage is amongst those wide receivers. That's a lot of targets. That says to me they're on the same page and Tom's into Russell Gage.
Yeah, Tom, look, Tampa Bay is going to host the game. Right? Isn't that amazing that Tampa Bay will host a game against
almost no matter what their record is?
Dallas win team? Right. It's amazing. And you've got to spin that Buccaneers receiver wheel and see what comes up. And it sounds like Gage might be the one who comes up. Mike Evans certainly will be there, but you can't. Julio Jones, Godwin, who knows who'll be there other than that. But whoever Brady trusts, that's the guy you want. Right now, that wheel spins, the roulette wheel comes up, Russell Gage.
Yeah, it does. Mitchell Wilcox, tight end in Cincinnati, 3 passes, 3 catches, and a touchdown. Not massive numbers, but Hayden Hurst had a big hand in that offense. If he's still hurt and you're in a spot, that's an offense that we all believe is rolling in the Cincinnati Bengals.
You always want to look to an offense that's rolling, that's playing for something, and the Bengals clearly are. Obviously, they're still fending off the Ravens for that AFC North lead. Keep an eye on the injuries. Hayden Hurst is the ideal guy to own if he's healthy. If not, though, you've got to look at other options.
Joshua Kelly, I wrote down, not because he's been especially good ever, but he is getting opportunities. 10 touches last week, and there's another offense that we know can roll, especially through the running back, and that is the Chargers. So I was like, man, if I'm sitting here, and certainly if Eckler's on my team, if I've got room, I'm grabbing Joshua Kelly.
Yeah, you've got to add him. And Kelly last year even played at the end of the year, same kind of thing, where he had some value down the stretch at the end of the year because of Eckler. We're not sure about injury issues. He gets a lot of volume. And Eckler does get hurt, but he also, when he's healthy, he's great. But you've always got to have a backup. He's one of the guys you absolutely have to have a 1B for him. And Joshua Kelly is that guy. The Chargers do like Joshua Kelly a lot.
Just so many touches for the running back on that offense. Malik Willis, I'm not even sure I even mean this one, but I wrote Malik Willis down because I think he's probably playing this week. The Titans are at home. I don't sense that that's an organization that will roll over, and they get Houston. So I wrote them down. I've had a couple leagues that are off where I'm in some playoffs, and I look up and I'm like, oh my God, I have to play a bad quarterback this week. So if that's the case, Malik Willis can run. I don't think Tennessee will roll over. He gets his best wide receiver back, it looks like, and in a pinch is my spot. I'm not saying definitely thrust him in. I'm saying if you're light at quarterback and great everywhere else and you're in the playoffs, Malik Willis might need to be on your bench just in case.
Like right now, if you're in a situation, Brady, we're still talking to these people. I've said this every week. We probably lose our listeners by half just because they get beat and they're done. So we're in the playoffs right now. But if you got Jalen Hurts as your quarterback, who might not play this week, we're not sure. You've got to find another option. It might not be Gardner Minshew. You might want to look elsewhere. Malik Willis certainly has some value there just because he's another quarterback who's out there. So depending where you're at in your league and where you're at in the season, look at that. He certainly has some value, especially in Burkhardt. We're not sure, but certainly keep an eye on.
A couple of weeks ago, we brought up Chigo Okonkwo from Tennessee. 5 more targets last week, 4 catches, and he gets Houston. And when we brought him up 2 weeks ago, I'm pretty sure that Chigo went and caught a touchdown. So we liked that because Tannehill tends to throw the ball in the middle of the field, right? I'm not positive, but it's another name if you may need something.
Hey, don't say we, say you. You get credit for this one. That was you. You called him out. You brought him up. He's the one who scored the touchdown. Yes. He certainly is just a tight end. And we get to the situation late in the season. If you didn't get Dallas Goedert or Darren Waller like we told you to as far as an IR guy coming back, that certainly is an option in Tennessee.
And maybe if you're in a 10-team league, Darren Waller might have gone unnoticed last week because he'd missed, I think, 4 games in a row. He played 3 for 48 and a quiet touchdown. Maybe your team's not paying attention, just in case. Darren Waller's back. The Raiders are throwing the football. So scan the waiver wire just in case. Just in case. Tight end Arizona Trey McBride got 6 targets last week, 4 catches for 55 yards, hooked up with the greatness of Trace McSorley, the former Penn State quarterback. Not even sure what I'm doing here, but it's a tight end in case, and that's it. That's all I have to say.
With all the injuries, look at Goddard too. If Goddard's out there, Goddard's been activated by the Eagles, has a chance. He'll play this week. He certainly is a decent option. But yes, if you're not going that way, you've got to look around other options. That certainly is one of them in Arizona.
Latavius Murray's been pretty good since he got to Denver on a bad team and a bad situation. At 32 years old, he got a ton of carries and a ton of yards last week. And yet I looked between the lines and saw that Marlon Mack, who is just looking to remind people that he had a pretty good rookie year a couple of years ago.
He did.
Marlon Mack got some touches, right? Marlon Mack got 8 touches for 37 yards, rushing, 4 catches for 26 yards. And again, maybe on Marlon Mack if you need him because you're planning on playing 2 or 3 more weeks in the playoffs.
Marlon Mack got bumped because the Colts drafted Jonathan Taylor. He had a great rookie year. You're right. He was really good for, I thought, Indianapolis. I think it's in a weird – he's one of those guys who gets caught up in the weird situation of they drafted somebody better, but Mack was really good as a rookie. I don't – look, who knows who the answer is in Denver long term? They've got Mike Boone there as well. I like Marlon Mack a lot, though. I hope he gets another opportunity. It's a tough situation for him, though, but in Denver, and again, who knows what they're going to do week to week.
Patrick Mahomes completed 36 out of 41 passes last week. And yet when you watch that team, you're like, they could still use something else, which could be a little bit more Sky Moore, which could be Kadarius Toney, who came back last week and had 1 catch, which could be McCole Hardman, who it looks like has been the window has been open to take him off IR. Doesn't mean he's playing, but this team, as good as he was, needs something from one of those guys. If you can figure it out, I guess I would lean Hardman, right? Who probably the Chiefs have figured out what his best plays are. Then if he's available, Pat's going to find someone else, right? It's just basically Juju and Kelsey at this point.
It is, and they're going to. Hardman's probably the more likely guy just because of the familiarity with, with Andy Reid and with Mahomes. I do still like Toney's ceiling, but Hardman's probably the safer play of the two. I'm with you, sure. I need your pullover there. I think that Hardman is probably the guy you want to have.
Wide receiver Chris Moore of Houston is somebody I've been mentioning for a couple of weeks. 9 more targets last week, 35 catches on 51 targets in the last 6 games. And yet I sort of sense that they've played 2 pretty good games in a row and lost to Dallas and Kansas City barely. And now they travel to a brutal opponent this week, as I remember. And so I'll say Chris Moore is stepping up when given the opportunity, but this may not be the week.
It might not be. And we've talked about, look, this all ties really into Brandon Cooks more than anybody else, because we know that Cooks is the most talented receiver they've got, but he's been pouty. He's been sitting out, not playing as much. He's not playing the way that. I think it's the Houston offense, and now you've got the obviously you've got the injury going on as far as running back position, and so who knows what's going to happen to Houston offense. It's a tough matchup this week, though. You're right.
Yeah. Running back Royce Freeman was pretty good against Kansas City for Houston with Pierce on IR, 11 for 51, 1 for 1. Right. Burkhead gets some. I don't know. I'm not even sure why I said it, but I just noticed he probably starts again next week. Maybe if you got a spot, you hang on to him. You know. Romeo Doubs in Green Bay looks to finally, we mentioned this, have that connection with Rodgers that we know Watson has. But if Romeo Doubs is sitting there, I was watching that game pretty closely, and it's like, okay, there's finally a little chemistry and a little look and a wink and whatever going on between he and Rodgers, right? That you're looking for. Sure.
They seem to connect a little bit. You're right. The connection with Watson the last few weeks, it seems like Romeo, and which is what you talk at the top of the show. That's what makes the Packers dangerous. Is now if Rodgers has a connection with these guys, if they've got the game at Miami on Christmas Day, and then a couple of home games, one against the Vikings, one against the Lions, and a couple of dome teams coming to Green Bay, and this is sets up the perfect Rodgers run for Green Bay, a chance to win their last 3 potentially, and Romeo is going to be a big part of that if they get to that point.
Wide receiver Rashad Shaheed. I want to tell you, I'm going to say, you tell me something about this guy, because he's actually put some numbers up, but I haven't been paying attention. Last 3 games, 9 catches on 13 targets. He has a touchdown, and I'm hearing his name. Can you give me anything on this guy?
Right. Well, he's got a high ceiling. It's what he's got, and so I do like him. I'd like him more if I'm I like him more in weeks 3, 4, 5, 6 kind of thing. This late in the season, it's hard to rely on him as far as being a viable option come playoff time. I think he is some dynasty league that you want to probably grab and stash. I'm not sure if I want to count on him, though, for the playoffs. As we get down to this now, we're looking at week 16. 16 are probably your semifinals, finals. I hope you take 18 if you are. That's a mistake. Week 16 and 17, though, where we're at right now, he is somebody who I think I would rather have next year, not so much week 16, 17 this year.
I got invited to a couple of Yahoo leagues, and literally a week or two ago, Juwan Johnson of New Orleans was still available. And if you've looked at his last 6 or 7 weeks, he's been outstanding. The tight end in New Orleans. Maybe nobody watches New Orleans games, and I don't blame you. But Juwan Johnson's numbers are gaudy in the last 4 games. 5 touchdowns in the last 4 games that he's played, and he's missed a couple of games. So again, maybe he ends up available because he missed a couple of games, but that's a pretty good tight end, a top 5 tight end in the last 5 weeks.
At New Orleans, you always think Taysom Hill when you think tight end, and the versatility of him as far as throwing a pass, running the ball and all that, the volume he gets and chances for touchdowns. But Juwan Johnson, certainly, though, if you're looking at like just pure tight end, Juwan Johnson's the guy you want to have. If you're looking at high ceiling, a Swiss Army knife tight end, then you might look at Taysom Hill. But Juwan Johnson has a lot of value because, look, the Saints, without Michael Thomas out there, there's a lot of receptions left on the table. They're not using Alvin Kamara the way they should. So there's a lot of possible targets out there. Juwan Johnson has shown that he can take advantage of that.
I'm sure he's not available, but just in case, Drake London, who made a real impact early, then kind of fell off. I imagine Drake London and this young quarterback Ritter have something going on. You can imagine those two as both kids on this team getting together, hanging out together, and basically saying, pretty soon, it's going to be us. So last week, Ritter threw the ball a lot to Drake London. I think Drake London's good. I think you think that as well. Baltimore might be tough this week, but if Drake London happens to be there, that's kind of a big play kid.
I think they'll have to pass the ball on Baltimore to win that game. I know that Tyler Algier had a big game running the ball last week, and they'll have to lean on him too for the running game. But yes, the connection between the two. If Kyle Pitts were out there, I'd say Kyle Pitts, but Pitts on IR. I think that Ritter knows that his bread is buttered with whatever you do in the passing game, and Drake London is the best receiver by far for Atlanta. And so he's got to make that connection. If he wants to be the long-term answer, he has a connection with Drake London. And Drake London, the USC, the 6'5" kid who gets – it's not a 50-50 ball. When you throw the ball to Drake London in a 50-50 ball, it's really an 80-20 ball because Drake London's going to catch it.
Deshaun Jackson I wrote down because I believe Baltimore's quarterback is coming back, and because Devin Duvernay, who's been kind of the number 2 there, goes to IR. Demarcus Robinson's kind of the number 1, but I'm from Kansas City, and I've watched that shit show for 3 years. He makes mistakes. He runs the wrong routes. He carries the ball when he catches it like a loaf of bread. And I'm like, okay, if they're getting their quarterback back, he's going to take some shots in the next couple of weeks to Deshaun Jackson, and they could be big plays.
Lamar Jackson, when he gets back, yes, they're going to do it. Do you realize, Brady, that a receiver for Baltimore, a wide receiver, has not caught a touchdown pass since week 3? That's the last time a wide receiver for Baltimore. Now, they just grabbed Sammy Watkins off waivers from Green Bay, and I know he's got a history in Baltimore, so he will slide in there. But they need someone to step up as far as a wide receiver goes in Baltimore. And they're still very much obviously in the mix of the AFC North and obviously the playoff picture. I can't believe a receiver. It's been week 3 the last time they caught a touchdown pass in Baltimore.
No, it's not very good. And you know what? Kind of a tip of the hat to them because they always find a way to win damn games. You know what? They're one of those teams.
They do. They've got that identity. It goes from John Harbaugh on down. It's the way they develop this team where it's going to be run first, run second, run third, and count on our defense and Justin Tucker win games for us.
Running back Zach Moss looked good and played a big role last week in Indy when Jonathan Taylor left, but I've always been kind of a Deion Jackson fan, and I sort of feel like he shows up when he gets given an opportunity. You have a feeling who's the guy, or is this just 50-50 and if you need one?
I think it's 60-40 for Zach Moss. If I had to pick one of the two, if you said you could only have one, I think I'd take Zach Moss. I'm with you on Deion Jackson. I loved him earlier this year. Filled in very well for Jonathan Taylor. Taylor now, by the way, out for the season. He's on IR. So it's amazing how big of an impact that has, because if you had the number one pick in a PPR league kind of thing, 4 points passing touchdown, your pick was Jonathan Taylor this year. Now he's gone for the playoffs. It's amazing that him and like Jalen Hurts both out. And I think that if I had to choose between the two, they both have value. I like Zach Moss a little more.
Okay. Tight end Brock Wright caught one pass last week on a play that really surprised the opponent. He went 51 yards and essentially won the game against the Jets. One pass, 51 yards, one touchdown. But he is, right now, if you look at the outline of this team, he's their tight end on a team that we believe offensively is skilled and may only get better in the last 3 weeks. So if you need to look at someone, Brock Wright, tight end Detroit.
If you've been streaming, yes, Brock Wright is somebody who, even way back when they traded T.J. Hawkinson, I a couple of my dynasty leagues, I think he's the answer there going forward. Yes, if you've been streaming tight ends every week this year because you did not get Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews or whoever was you grabbed, George Kittle, if you did not get one of those guys and you're streaming tight ends, he is certainly a viable option.
Item number 5 is drop their asses. The only one I wrote down was Baker Mayfield, who came in and won a game last week. And the other thing I noticed is, one, I loved him in his TV commercials. 2, he looks fat in his Rams uniform. Did you notice that? I don't know whether it's the blue hitting the white and just in the right spot or whatever, but I looked at him a couple times last week and I'm like, he looks fat.
I never thought about that, but you're right. Now I picture it in my mind. I didn't see it before, but now I can't unsee it because you said it. Yeah, I think you're right.
If you put Baker Mayfield in last week because he threw for 234 yards and a game-winning touchdown, then you're probably not in the playoffs anyway, but I wanted to bring it up.
You're not. No, you're not. You're not. Get rid of fat Baker Mayfield. All by you, Brady. I didn't think about it that way, but now that I can't unsee it.
I just kept saying, my girlfriend and I were watching, I'm like, why does Baker Mayfield look like he just drank 14 cases of beer while he wasn't playing? Holy shit.
He looks like Jared Lorenzen. Go!
Oh, I love Jared Lorenzen. Item number 6, the stardom list. This is what they want. Lots of under games. I said it early. I'm going to say it again. I'm telling you, the Browns, Saints, Commanders, San Francisco, Broncos, Rams, Bucks, Cardinals, Chargers, Colts, Lions, Panthers, Texans, Titans, Bills, and Bears, oh my, are all under games. If I was betting right now and you said take $10 and bet each game, I'm just saying I'm throwing the under on all of those games, and I'm going to do a parlay for every one of them just in case. So if that's the case, points are going to be down a little bit across the board in your first playoff week. So don't let it throw you. As kind of my initial tip before we get to stardom.
Yes, I'm with you on that. The under, with the weather and the wind playing a factor in so many games this week. I went through, there's a league I stream kickers in, and I took, as far as projected points, I went down like the kicker because he's playing indoors, playing road, not
right.
All those things. It's a huge thing when you look at these players. Consider the weather conditions.
No doubt. So kickers and defenses maybe get streamed and are much more important. Yes. And the truth is, when you get to the playoffs, you're probably going to win or lose these games in close order. Somewhere between 5 and 15 points decides these games for you guys.
Yep.
All right, here we go. So stardom. Some of these are going to be a little off, and you're going to think I'm crazy, but I'll give you my explanations as best I can. As much as Mac Jones went 13 for 31, he's against the Bengals at home. The Patriots are still in the playoff hunt. He has wide receivers, although all of them take their brains out and play with it. And they are going to have to score points. And I still like, here's the old guy thing, I still like Mac Jones's moxie. And I think they got to throw to have any chance against the Bengals to pull that upset.
The Bengals should be ahead. I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree they'll be successful, though, doing. Mac Jones guy. I'm not a Patriots passing game guy.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be wrong, but I feel like they won't have success throwing it. I don't believe Mac Jones is the long-term answer to me.
Okay. Stardom. This is probably wrong, but I wanted to bring it up again. Jameson Williams has 6 targets in 3 games, 1 catch for 41 yards and a touchdown. But the Lions are red hot. The quarterback is red hot. Everybody's singing Kumbaya on the offense and the defense, hugging on that head coach. And if one more thing was going to be pulled out of somebody's ass, it will be the lightning fast, talented Jameson Williams finishing off games for the Lions. Maybe not this week, maybe one more week. But boy, I like the idea that Jameson Williams could win me a Super Bowl or a fantasy championship a week or 2 from now.
I'm in a league where I've got Tyler Lockett. Lockett's going to not play this week. He's got the finger issue after he got hurt last week. I would play Jameson Williams in that spot and just say, you know what? Look at projected points. You absolutely do that whatever league you're in. You look at projected points. And if you're down, if it's like, oh my gosh, I'm a 19-point underdog or whatever, you may have to say, I'm going to take old swing guy who is not projected for much, but does have a high ceiling. Jameson Williams is that guy. He's got a huge ceiling, and he might catch 2 passes, might be 2 touchdowns.
Right.
I love Williams. So
and the other thing is, too,
is like a home run kind of swing.
The other thing, too, is you see this in the NFL if you watch enough games closely. When teams are preparing for other teams, they watch video and film like crazy. They all get in there, and they're all used to the numbers of the guys, the numbers on their jerseys, who catch balls, who are involved in the offense, who run certain routes. Right now, Jameson Williams, as dangerous as he is not showing up for anybody on film anywhere, and it will be easy for safeties or corners or whatever, linebackers who are supposed to drop under to say, not him.
Right. He can be the guy, the other guy. And that's great for Jameson Williams with the talent level he's got. He is one of the better, he is one of the most talented receivers from this rookie class, obviously. He went in that 10, 11, 12. You had the Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jameson Williams all back. He is in that same genre of those guys. Yes, I love Jameson Williams.
How about Daniel Jones, a stretch again? I thought it was a very big win for the Giants against Washington. Daniel Jones and the Giants need another win because their schedule is still tough from here on out. So if they're going to try and make the playoffs, they need another win. At Minnesota is going to be a tough place to do it, but Minnesota will allow points. We've seen it. They'll score points and they'll allow points. That Minnesota, for whatever fantasy players care or don't, they're plus minus. They're like the worst in the NFL, or certainly the worst among playoff teams in the NFL. Minnesota will let you score points. The Giants score points terribly, like they don't really want to, but they're going to have to score points in this game. And Daniel Jones, in theory, could run for 94 yards and a touchdown for you too.
Yeah, Brady, in one of the leagues I'm in, I had, I have Jalen Hurts as my quarterback. I needed somebody this week. I'm not picking up Gardner Minshew. I love the mustache. I love the story. But if I choose between like Gardner Minshew and like Daniel Jones as my guy to come in, I'll grab Daniel Jones and give it a shot. You're right. It feels like high between Minnesota and the Giants. If you're going to beat the Vikings, you have to outscore them. You're not going to out-defense them. You've got to outscore them. And that's why Daniel Jones certainly has some.
We brought this up a minute ago. Well, let's reiterate it for a stardom list. If McCole Hardman, who's been activated off the IR and has a possibility to play, if he plays, Kansas City's playing Seattle. The Chiefs have not been playing very well. They've been fortunate. They need to get some momentum going. And as good as Pat has been, and he's probably right there with the MVP voting, and maybe if the Eagles quarterback doesn't play this week, he takes a leap. McCole Hardman is a guy, if he's active, that I anticipate having a good game. I really, knowing that team as I do, if he plays, I bet McCole Hardman scores a touchdown. If he does, then your floor is in good shape.
I feel like the Chiefs score at least 35 points this week in Seattle, which lends to the fact that, yes, Hardman does have absolutely a chance to score a touchdown in that. I think he would be the one to get one, yes.
That's why I was sort of thinking, this is a 5-touchdown game for Mahomes, right? With with Hurts sitting out against a gettable team, with the Chiefs needing what they need. Everything's sort of stacking up here to say, okay, Mahomes takes the jump in week 16 to win MVP. The Chiefs get what they need, and who gets something? It's McCole Hardman. Christian Kirk is at the Jets. Zay Jones has sort of taken over as the big play guy for the last 4 weeks or so, but Kirk has been a bit unlucky. He's got a hot quarterback and a smart head coach, and his catches in the last 6 weeks are 8, 9, 4, 6, 5, 6. That's a lot of touches. And in that time, he has no touchdowns. There's something coming. There's something coming here. A correction is coming for Christian Kirk.
Look, if you have 33 receptions over 5 weeks, you got to believe at least one's going to be for a touchdown or a couple for a touchdown. Yes, the market correction will happen for him. And the way the Jags are playing, they put up 40 on the Cowboys in the overtime game. They are playing with a lot of confidence. This team is they believe in Doug Peterson. And so I think they're going to keep scoring at a high rate. And it's going to be Christian Kirk, Zay Jones. I love both of them this week.
The Pickett to Pickens may be back this week. Right. If Pickett is coming off of the concussion protocol, which it looks like he is, Pickens had a couple of more really good catches where you're like, whoa, that may be one of the 2 or 3 top rookies. And they're playing the Raiders. Raiders will give up some points. This game should have some back and forth to it. It's just a feeling.
You know, I agree. Look, Pickett is back this week. He's been clear from the concussion protocol. He is going to start for the Steelers on Saturday against the Raiders in that game. And yes, Pickett and Pickens both, they've got a connection there. And I think that Pickett has a connection more with Pickens and with Freiermuth. And that's why Deontay Johnson was kind of pining for Mason Rudolph last week to start with Pickett out. But yes, I expect him to start going in. And by the way, Brady, I forgot to say this before. Don't anybody tell me everybody's on a short week. We're all on a shortened week this week because of the fact it's a Saturday game versus Sunday. So don't tell me someone's got an edge because of a shortened week. Everyone's on a short week this week because of the Saturday Christmas Eve game.
The other Steeler note, I know you're aware of, but some people may not be, at 6-8, they have sort of brought themselves back to have a chance to have a 500 or better season, which they've done every year since 2003. So I promise you, it's important to that head coach, to that team, to that city. So the Steelers will be pulling out as many stops as they need to against the Raiders to win this game.
They will, Brady. And besides, and they've been planning all year for this. You're aware, you and I are the same generation, that the Immaculate Reception happened in 1972, 50 years ago, with the Raiders and the Steelers, and they're retiring Franco Harris's number, which the Steelers rarely do. They think we'll retire 2 numbers ever. And then Franco Harris passed away, and just this week he passed away. Just yesterday he passed away. He's being honored on Saturday night in that NFL Network game for the Immaculate Reception, for his career with Pittsburgh. He won't be there. I think his family will be there. It's a huge deal, emotional night in Pittsburgh. And so it's one of those things, but it's more watchable now knowing what's going on.
Agreed. And then the last thing that I wrote down, and I probably don't do this enough for our listeners and viewers, a Ravens defense. A streaming defense is a good thing to do most seasons. I think it's been a really good thing to do this year because there have been so many low-scoring games. I love the Ravens D at home versus the rookie Ritter from Atlanta, who will make some mistakes. And if the Ravens get their quarterback back, there's even more energy in that game for that defense.
There is the defense that Ravens do it. They run, they bring it, and that's their identity. Goes from the coach on down. That's the way this franchise is built. Going back to even the Ray Lewis and Jamal Lewis, and that's how they win games, is through that. And that defense, yes, the Ravens defense. This is the time of year when the Ravens defense really takes over.
No doubt. Item number 7, the sit-em list. And again, we haven't had a lot of sit-em people this year just because there's been so many injuries, so many things going on, so many bye weeks. But I wrote down anybody who plays for the Texans playing at Tennessee. I have a feeling Tennessee will be stubborn in this game. There won't be a lot of points scored. And the Texans may have sort of had their little bubble, right? They scored 23 and should have beat the Cowboys, didn't. 24 against the Chiefs and should have probably won, but didn't.
Right.
And maybe there's just an exhale and a letdown. We're going across the country to Tennessee. I have a feeling that there's not a Texan that I would probably put on the field.
With Tennessee's defense, and look, Vrabel's same cloth of what the Ravens do. They try to run the ball. They're not going to beat you through the air. They won't beat you through the air. They want to run the ball, control the game, limit your possessions, and play solid defense. That's what the Titans do. So, yes, I agree with you on that. They are great. Going forward, yes, that's the way they are.
Another sit-em team or sit-em player, maybe sort of sit-em team, is Washington. And Taylor Heineke, if you had to put him in, I get it. He hasn't let you down completely. Depending on your team, but they're going to San Francisco. They're going to San Francisco. This is going to be rough. That was a game they needed to win last week. Did Washington against the Giants?
Yeah. That was a game that was like that game is a lot more winnable than the San Francisco game because of their defense. It's amazing, Brady, how many for years it's been lately, at least the quarterbacks and the offenses and the high octane offense has been what teams have gone for. But great quarterbacks, great receivers, all the ball. No huddle, do this and keep possession. And now this year we're seeing teams like San Francisco and the way Baltimore does it now, the way Tennessee's doing it, and defense is really even like Dallas. Defense is such a huge part. Green Bay, the defense has become such a much more important part of all this. And San Francisco's defense is among the best.
Item number 8, injury update. So jump in here with me. I wrote some down. Correct me if I've got some of them wrong. I believe Jalen Hurts is not going to play. There are times when you can sort of trust Vegas. They've had this at 5.5 or 6 for Dallas as a favorite. Certainly Dallas is not as good a team right now as the Eagles are. They are at home, and I don't think Hurts is playing. Do you agree with that?
Nick Sirianni came out and said that after the report came out that Hurts could miss 1 to 3 weeks, Nick Sirianni came out yesterday and said, look, this guy's got a great recovery. He's one of the better. He recovers faster than most people do, and he could play. I'm with you. I don't think he plays this week. I think that's all smokescreen. The Eagles need to win just one more game of their final 3 in order to clinch number 1 seed and get the first round. This game is fine to the last 3 games. Saints a very winnable game as well. I don't think Jalen Hurts plays this week. I'm with you. I think that it's the Gardner Minshew show this week, and I don't think they're going to risk it against Dallas. Get one of the last 2 weeks for a win and go from there.
I know Hurts wants to be MVP. I don't blame him. He's played his way with this coach in the last 2 years right into a major contract, and good for him. He's a good player. He's good for the league. But they are certainly a team that is a favorite to be in the Super Bowl to represent the NFC. He shouldn't play. They've gotten to this point where he doesn't have to play. Congratulations to them, right, and to him. So I think we're right on that.
Yeah, right.
The other thing I would say too is for people who've got Eagles,
let it win.
Yeah, for people who've got Eagles, I would also say this. I cautioned all the Cowboys fans today off of the helmets. The Eagles will be coming like a freight train down the track in this game, even without Hurts. The Eagles want to embarrass this Cowboy team, want to let them know, themselves know, and everyone else, we're the NFC East favorite. Our quarterback's not even playing, and we're going to kick the shit out of this Dallas Cowboy team at AT&T Stadium. So Brown, Goddard's back, it looks like. I just think that Philadelphia is still extraordinarily viable, especially with a wounded Cowboys defense.
They are confident no matter who's under center for them because of the way they can run the ball. They've got great offense, they've got a great defense. They absolutely want to come full barrel against Dallas.
Minshew, by the way, 35 touchdowns and only 11 interceptions in his 2 years in Jacksonville as the starter. So it's not just a good mustache.
Yep. That's a good point, yes.
McCole Hardman in Kansas City, you tell me. I have a feeling he's playing. Activated off the IR doesn't mean he'll be active for the game. Do you have a sense on that?
I think he will play. I think that Reed wants to get involved. Reed wants to have everybody. Andy Reid wants to have everybody at his disposal come playoff time.
Yeah.
So then Hardman plays, though, I do think that Reed wants him to be a big part of the offense this week. I think he will play and be a big part.
As ugly as it's been, Cleveland hanging around. Nick Chubb has been questionable, hasn't practiced much this week. Indications that I get are he will play against New Orleans. And Cleveland's been kind of a proud, ugly, shitty-looking team who now gets their quarterback back.
Chubb's going to play, and he's going to get a huge number of carries in this game. The Browns are playing. They still believe they have a shot at the playoffs, and they do really technically if they can win their final 3 games. I don't think it's likely. I think they've got like a 0.7% chance to make the playoffs. Last time I saw projections on ESPN, the way they do their whole algorithm of how it goes. But he will get a lion's share. He'll get a bunch of touches this week. Yes, Chubb is playing.
We already mentioned Dallas Goedert will play. He's already said so against Dallas this weekend for the Eagles.
Yep.
Khalil Herbert, this was one to notice. Running back Khalil Herbert returns for the Bears. Bad news for you Montgomery owners who've gotten a lot out of him in the last 4 weeks. Probably goes back to a split tote role.
I think so. And by split, we mean 33, 33, 33, because, Justin Fields is going to get his touches as well. So when you look at the total number of yards they're going to have and touchdowns, it's really, look, the best running field.
I sort of anticipated New England maybe having to throw the ball, but Damian Harris may come back, and maybe they have a two-headed monster with Stevenson. Do you know anything about all of that?
Stevenson is the guy they like. Stevenson's the one that Belichick wants to be the bell cow back there. Had a great game this past week. It'll still be the Stevenson show. Harris will fill in as a third down back, but I think if you had to look at the number of carries that they have, if they end up with 24 carries in the backfield, I think it's 16 Stevenson, 8 Harris.
Chris Olave only played about 40% of the normal plays he would play last week. Now this week, he hasn't practiced yet with a sore hammy. So there may be a reason for why he didn't get as many plays last week. Monitor that.
Yeah, monitor that for sure. And the Saints offense sucks. So monitor it, but even if he plays, he might not be there. There's just not, with New Orleans there, it's just not going to be great weather in Cleveland too, by the way. And you've got mediocre quarterbacks in really bad weather. It's not going to go well for New Orleans on Saturday.
Corey Davis cleared, I think it was concussion protocol. So it looks like Corey Davis is going to suit up this week. Right. I'll throw another one out. Chase Claypool making progress for the Bears. That would be nice for Fields to have that big old bastard back out there. And I understand Treylon Burks is coming back for Tennessee, whoever may be throwing the ball there.
Right. And I like Burks among those guys just mentioned, the best of the 3. I think he's got the best potential. He scored that touchdown. That's when he got hit and got hurt. But Burks certainly has the highest ceiling among all of those.
And item number 9, tips from the pros. That's us. My last one was, remember, whether your playoffs are 1 week or 2 weeks, it could be 3, right? Don't we have 3 games left? So you're playing for a title, not just for this week. So if anybody that we mention out there you have space for, grab depth. You probably won't play them, but some of these guys that sound a little iffy or their names that we made up, you haven't even heard, they might help you next week accidentally or even in the final week.
A shot, like now it's lottery ticket time for your bench guys who could bring up there. 3 weeks ago, Brady, in the one league I'm in where I was still playoffs and I'm in it now, I grabbed Goddard and I grabbed Darren Waller and put him on my bench. Greg Dulcich, the guy from Denver who I've loved all year, as my starting tight end. But I grabbed Goddard, I grabbed Waller, knowing they were coming off IR. I took a shot. It's paying off for me now. Don't be afraid to do things like that. Take a shot on some of these guys. Grab somebody. Look at week 17. If you've got a great team this week, that's great. You got a projected to win. Still look at week 17 and see who might be out there you can grab. And don't be afraid to take a shot. Don't look at the name and the history. Look at the production and what they could do in week 17.
Right. Opportunities. I'm with you. And finally, a Christmas tip from your 2 favorite fantasy players. That's me and Jeff. Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds did a movie that has been released, I believe, on Apple TV, and you can see it in the theaters, called Spirited. And it is the 58th takeoff of the movie A Christmas Carol. Have you seen it, Jeff?
Right. I have not seen. Is it a musical?
It is, and
I've heard there's a lot of music and singing in it. Is that true?
There is, and you're right, and you wouldn't think that's Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell, but there is, yes.
Right.
So I turned
it
on one night.
You liked it.
Yeah. I was going to be home one night. I was making dinner, and I'm like, all right. And I turned it on, and in 30 minutes in, I'm like, I'm enjoying this. An hour in, I'm like, fuck, I really like this. And by the end of the movie, I was like, damn, considering it's a Christmas movie and Will Ferrell can be iffy for me at my advanced age,
sure.
I was like, pretty damn good. So good, I will tell you, Jeff, that 2 nights later, I went by myself, got my kettle corn and a large Diet Coke, which is confusing in itself, and I watched it on the big screen.
Good for you. That's all. Now I'm going to check it out. I will check it out. It might not be tonight. It might not be tomorrow. But I promise you, sometime in the next 4 days, I will watch that show with the family. Is the family friendly okay?
Right? Sure. Kids absolutely. Okay? Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, pal. Merry Christmas to you.
Then. Yes, I am very much an old soul when it comes to Merry Christmas to you, my friend. I will watch this show and I'll enjoy it. It's been fun. We'll come back next week and talk to everybody 116 and talk to them about week 7.
Let's get these people. Let's get everybody some championship trophies. Merry Christmas to you, pal. See you next week.